So I'm Bethany Crystal. This summer, I worked to create the Manhattan 75, which is the reincarnation of the local block association on West 75th Street, where I live. I started with my individual building. I live in a multi-unit building with about 30 different units across 5 floors. So the first thing that I did was hang up a flyer with my phone number and said, hey, join this WhatsApp group here, and had about 10 people join. The next big thing that we did was host an immediate rooftop gathering for those folks, which was really, really helpful. I got to meet people in all different floors of the building from many different lived experiences. There was a ballroom dancer, wanted to host a rooftop party on the roof and teach people how to dance. There was a recent graduate who eventually volunteered to help me make flyers and design a logo for our concept. There was like a babysitter. There was a guy who lived in the building forever, and that was just so fun. From there, I did a series of small experiments to try and get more people outside of my building. The first thing I did was hang flyers and host as a picnic event in the local park, Riverside Park, right on the corner. I had about 8 people come to that event. Based on some of the advice I got from the crew, they said, just sort of make decisions based on who shows up. So in that single hour, we came up with a name, Manhattan 75. We came up with a sort of founding idea that we wanted to do a block party that was a breakfast on the block. And we got a couple of folks as organizers onto a separate WhatsApp thread. And that became the first time I found like the sort of first follower there. I met with that person one-on-one. We had a great coffee diner chat and have continued to meet up with that person again in the subsequent weeks, which was really great. I did not get a lot of other folks from that flyer alone, so I also did a lemonade stand where I tapped my daughters, ages 2 and 4, to meet people on the block by just selling them lemonade while I gathered up names. With one of the volunteers that came to our park event, we did a small planter installation on the block, and while we were planting, we were also just meeting people who were excited about what we were doing, jotting their names down. And throughout the entire summer, I was just paying extra attention to some of the other flyers and like paraphernalia that I was seeing around the neighborhood. So I saw that NYPD hosts these Build a Better Block events, and I am now on their mailing list. I saw an ad for a West 71st Street Block Association. So I reached out to the person, went to the party, met the block organizer, and then was able to chat with her. When I talked to my friends about it, I found out one of their moms was a block organizer in Chelsea, and I got her friend to introduce me to her mom, and I went down to Chelsea and I met someone else. I've crashed 2 or 3 other block parties and intentionally sought out to meet those folks. And what I've learned from doing a lot of this is that I'm not the only one in New York that thinks this is a problem. A couple weeks ago, I actually met with the superintendent of the district of over 30 schools in my neighborhood. And he said to me the thing that he thinks is going to change economic mobility in New York City to really equalize access is better block associations and community building. So even on the education side, I've just been hearing that people really care about this issue. And I feel like getting out there yourself and meeting some of those surrounding people has been really helpful as like a support system for me to get to know that broader block ecosystem. One of those people, actually, the West 75th First Street Block organizer, helped me get to know there actually had been a former president of the West 75th Street Block Association from 17 years ago. So I got reintroduced to her, met up with her once, got all the information from a prior like mailing list that she had, a website, and now she's agreed to help me team up in the next iteration of this. So it's been a slower, non-linear build than I would have thought. You know, right now my building is still the sort of like strongest node there. And there's like 1 or 2 other buildings that I've sort of semi-activated. But now that I've got basically 2 additional people to help me, that's going to be what is taking me over to the next level. I will say, in terms of timing, that this has all taken longer than I would want it to be. I think part of that is I'm over ambitious in how long I think things should take. And also, I started in the summer when things are just really, really slow. So I've had to learn about the pace of my own neighborhood. And one thing that happens on the Upper West Side in New York is that every other person goes over the summer. So really a lot of things are put on hold until September. Interestingly, now that everyone's back, everyone is so busy that they don't have time to do stuff, right? So the cadencing has been really interesting. It took me about 2 weeks to get everyone on my building excited to join the thread. That first event was about 2 or 3 weeks in from my initial post. Since I do live in an apartment building, there's been a lot of turnover, particularly the end of summer going into fall. So I'm now 3 months later going to hang another sign and catch some of the new people. So there is the circular cadence to that work.